I am going to attempt to make plum jam, and I'm also going to attempt to document it. We'll see how this goes. So, keeping in mind, I don't own a stove or an oven. I have a 2 burner hot plate in my place. So, I have my largest pot, which is way bigger than the largest burner on the 2 burner hot plate, filled with hot but not boiling water. And I have the first 5 mason jars in there. Now, the pot is not really big enough. So the little mason jars, wait, I've got some over here. These little guys, they're fine. They're down there, they're fully covered in water, so that's great. The other ones, those are the only 2 I have of that size, so I don't have one out of the water that I could show you. They're like kind of double the size or the next size up from the little baby size. And the water, I don't know if you'll be able to tell, it's like just barely above the surface of them. But you can see the water level in the pot is almost at the top as well. So one, I don't know if this burner will be able to bring this much water up to boil. If not, then the whole process is just, I'm kind of in trouble right from the start because I need to sterilize the jars. But 2, if it does come up to a rolling boil, it's gonna go over the edge of the pan. But I need it to be higher than the top of the jars. But realistically, it's not high enough over the top of the jars for it to count as being over the top of the jars. So maybe I should be taking some of the water out so that it, 1, has a better chance of coming to boil, and 2, once it hits a rolling boil, it doesn't go over the edge of the pot. But I don't really know because this is all a guess. It's the first time I've done this way. The last time I made any kind of a jam, it was a port wine jelly. It was years ago. I lived in a place that had an oven and a stove and, and I used this pot, and I don't remember how I kind of overcame that problem. Sorry, don't mind the mess to the side there. So this little table I have to the side of my kitchen counter that I just showed you the mess on, I'm gonna move it out of the way so that if the water does boil over and it goes over that side, it'll just go onto the floor. And otherwise it'll go on to like counter space in front and behind of the burner plate. So that's easy to clean up anyways. And then I have on my other little counter space, let me just take you over there. Okay, so over here, it's another little counter space. It's sort of, the sink is in between these 2 chunks of counter. So I have cleaned this counter area with Lysol, like a Lysol spray, and then I put down a clean towel. So this is where I plan to put the jars once they've boiled for 10 minutes in the pot. So I need to pull out my tongs. I'm not really sure where I put them when I unpacked, when I moved, so I need to find those. I'm also gonna have to sterilize the lids for the mason jars. Now, when I did the port wine jelly before, I bought like a kit for making jam, and it came with like a stick with a magnet on the end, so you could get the lids out of the boiling water easier than having to fish them out, but I don't remember where that is. All right, back to the jars because it's marginally more interesting to look at than the towel. So while this is attempting to come up to boil, I'm gonna go and see if I can find where I put that magnet stick thing. I don't think I got rid of it, but I just really don't remember where I put it in the unpacking process. Clearly, I use it oh so much. Once these have boiled for 10 minutes and are sterilized and are on the towel, I've got 3 more little ones, and then I actually have a mason jar that's quite large. There's no way that I can have this one standing upright in the water and have it boil and sterilize, and all of the instructions that I've read say that the jars need to be upright, not on their side. I'm not really sure why that is, but it seems a very common thing. But also all these instructions are from people that have like a proper canning pot, and those things are super tall. So maybe they're just sort of spoiled by having the right equipment, and it's okay to modify by putting the jar on its side. I don't know. I do remember when I did this last time, I put a towel down on the bottom of the pot so that once the water started boiling and the jars were moving around, it gave them like a slightly softer surface, so they were going to be less likely to get cracked or break. So maybe I'll put that towel down when I put the big jar in on its side, and that might help protect it a little bit. But for now, the water is hopefully going to come to a boil, and while it is attempting to do that, I'm going to go see if I can find that magnet thing, and I will update you at the next stage. Here is an update on the water. I haven't been timing it for how long it's going to take because I knew that if I timed it, I would get frustrated with how long it would take, because a much smaller pot takes about 10 minutes to get up to a boil. So I had no hopes this would be fast, just hoping that it would eventually happen. But I mean, things are definitely happening, so I have hope. While that's been doing its thing, I sort of got the lids off of the other ones. That's the towel that I'm going to put down in the bottom of the pot when I put these jars in. I'm currently using the large one to hold my these guys, because this is what I'm going to use to take the jars out of the boiling water. And I have cleaned the plums. So these are what are going to become the jam. I had to take out, I think, 3 from the bag. So these are from my friend's tree. And he just brought them to me in a huge plastic bag. So 3 of them were like a little bit too soft and they could ruin the jam. This one is split, which, there we go, which always, actually it's not split, it just looks split, but there's no difference in, like it's smooth, like there's no like indent or anything. So, okay, but some do have like little bruises I'll have to cut out, like this guy there. And I put ones over here that are sort of, they're softer than the rest, but they're not so soft that I think I can't use them, but they are softer. So I'm gonna handle them last and we'll see how many I have. Because for the plums, I need 3 cups of them chopped. So I'm about to cut them open to take out the pits, and then I'm supposed to, so I'm reading the instructions while I do this, finely chop them and keep the peel on. So I'm gonna start doing that while still waiting for the water. I was gonna wait and have everything boiled and then start working on the fruit, but then I realized, well, I'm kind of just waiting a long time for this water, so I might as well do something useful. I still have the towel all set up ready for the sterilized jars, which is good, but also kind of irritated me because I wanted to use the counter and I couldn't because I don't want to touch it because then I'll have to re-sterilize everything over there. Oh, the joys of a tiny kitchen. Oh, and I could not find the magnet thing. I found a different piece from the set. This came with the set as well. I don't even know what it's for. It's for something to do with jam making, but could not find the magnet. So once I put the lids in there to sterilize, I'm going to be trying to get them out using a combination of the tongs, these guys, and these. Just things that I'll be able to reach into the water to help kind of flip the lid up to be able to grasp it with the tongs and remove. This is my plan. We'll see if it works. Okay, so the plums have been pitted. I perhaps should have Googled how to pit a plum because I think I made a little bit of a disaster of it. It was super messy and took a long time. I've got 2 plums over there that were the 2 that were a little bit softer than the rest that I wasn't sure I was going to use that I haven't touched yet, and I'll see if I need them. And I actually have one over here that was really soft when I cut into it, so I pitted it, but I kind of put it off into the corner, so it'll be one of the last ones that I chop. So if I don't need it, then I won't use it. So here they are. Now I'm going to finely chop them and then put them into a measuring bowl to see exactly how much I have and hope that there's enough. Otherwise I just chopped up a whole bunch of plums for no reason. And here's my water. It's never gotten beyond this level of a boil. It's just stuck at it. I guess like there's just too much water and too much pot for what this burner can do. But it's been boiling at this level for a very long time at this point, way beyond like the 10 minutes rolling boil that you're supposed to sterilize them at. So I'm kind of hoping that they're sterilized at this lower boil, but for a longer amount of time. So I'm gonna take the little ones out and put them on the towel. I'm gonna lay those 2 slightly taller ones on their side to get the tops in the water and start their counting fresh, and add a couple more of like the little ones that I have waiting to go in. And yeah, it's really the best that I can do at this point when you don't have like the proper heat of a proper stovetop. I mean, you just sort of have to deal with what you've got, right? And this is what I've got. So an extended amount of time in a lower level of boiling water. We'll see if it works. Okay, so this is the second batch of boiling mason jars. You can see it's still at the same level of boil. So I put these in and then proceeded to start chopping the plums. And I am kind of dying. I'm like roasting hot and I really need to sit, but whose kitchen counter is at a height that you can sit? Not mine. So here's the plums. I cut up and pitted way too many because I needed 3 cups of them finely chopped, and so I have 3 cups finely chopped and all of this left over, which would be fine because I had hoped to also make a cake, but I'm really not feeling well enough to go and now turn this into a cake while also continuing on with the jam process. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do with these ones because they have been chopped and pitted, so I have to do something with them quickly, but not right in this moment. So I have that ready to go. This is still boiling. I really need to sit for a couple minutes, so I'm going to do that and then I will continue on. Okay, here are the jars and the lids that have all been sterilized and are sitting on the sterilized section of my kitchen drying. Here's the plums that I haven't done anything with yet. Over here on the stove, I have the 3 cups of finely chopped plums. And then mixed in with them is 7 cups of sugar, a 1/4 cup of lemon juice. I have to bring it to a boil on high heat, cook it for 1 minute at the boil, then remove from the heat, stir in the pseudo liquid pectin, then stir and skim for 5 minutes to prevent fruit from floating to the surface, pour into sterilized jars, and cover with lids. So I'm telling you all of that because it's all going to be happening fairly quickly once it actually begins, I think, so I won't be able to film all the various different steps. So for now, I've got it all mixed up. I'm bringing it up to a boil. Once it's boiling, I will let it cook for 1 minute, and then I will do the rest. The finished product. So here is the plum jam. There's actually some in one of those little like liquid measuring cups by Pyrex because I had a little bit too much for the jars that I have. Yeah, it's a lot of jam, and I don't know if it's going to be any good or not, so I might just be stuck with a lot of jam that's not even good enough to gift, which would be horrifying. I made an absolute mess while doing this. It boiled over when it was in the pot, and of course it's like a sugary, syrupy thing, so as soon as it hits the burner, it just turned black and became like a whole situation. And yeah, I don't know, I'm glad I can't smell sometimes. So I'm mostly cleaned up from the chaos. I have the pots that the jam was in and the dish that I skimmed the top off into soaking because they're quite sticky. The pot, I think it wouldn't be so bad if it hadn't boiled over, but it did, so that's where we're at. But yeah, here's a close-up. I mean, it's a nice color. I did burn myself a little bit when I was scooping it out into the jars. So I'm a little bit mad at the jam, even though it's not the jam's fault. Now it's all in the jars, lids are on. You can do the little pop test to know that they sealed. Yeah, they all did it. Excellent, excellent. Don't mind the thing, I couldn't get the sticker off. So I'm gonna leave them to sit. I think I can leave them on the counter to sit. They don't need to be refrigerated right away. And tomorrow maybe I'll open one of them and give it a try to see if the texture and everything is all right before I actually decide to give any of them away. When I was taking it from the pot and putting it into the jar, it was a lot more liquidy than I was expecting. Not that I've made this before, so I don't really know what to expect, but I just thought it would be a little bit thicker, so I'm a little concerned. But having said that, the one that I poured into the little Pyrex measuring cup, I put it in there, and then I actually realized I had missed one of the little pots, so I poured some from the Pyrex into one of the little mason jars, and it had already started to thicken up. So maybe it'll be okay? Maybe? Do you think? Anybody out there know anything about jam? Because I just apparently like to do random hobbies with no real information on what I'm doing. So, but there we go. There's the jam. I'll do a quick video clip tomorrow to end this video showing one of them getting opened and what it's like.